Good evening. Welcome to this regular scheduled meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Education. It's great to see all of you here this evening. We would ask for an introduction on the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sure, great. Good evening, Mr. President, Superintendent, honored members of the Board of Education. I would like to thank you for this opportunity to introduce the first elected Drisswood Elementary School Student Council officers and their sponsor. We have President Kylie Wacker. Stand up.
Please stand.
Vice President Isaac Mahoney. Secretary Hope Weller. Public Relations Officer Christian Petruzella. And Spirit Officer Colby Carter. And Student Council Sponsor, our music teacher, Angela Weaver. This is our first student council. We've had leadership clubs, and one of our goals to increase student leadership was to initiate our own student council. So we expanded this year and had elected officers. We ran an election the day before our election, and it was just amazing to watch the boys and girls from kindergarten to 5th choose our candidates. Each one of them recorded a speech, and actually Mr. Blanc was there one day, and they spoke over the loud speaker, and so each of those children were able to hear all of their election promises. There were some great ones like pizza every day and things like that, and I was like, be careful, but they were wonderful. And we were talking out in the hallway, there were 21.
Well, there were 31 applicants that got narrowed down to 21 nominees when the homerooms did their official nominating. So,
wish you could have heard as they gave their speeches, the kids had pencils in their hands in the classrooms and a piece of paper. They were saying, how do you spell Isaac, or how do you spell this? They wanted to write down. They want to remember this student said this is who I want to vote for, or something like that. They really were involved in it.
And they created their own campaigns and had like stickers, or they had posters throughout the building. So it was really awesome, especially how it coincided with our country's election, and they just did a great job. They all ran very clean campaigns.
No negative campaign. Outstanding.
My choices.
There was only one weird mustache thing, and we figured it out in the hallway. Was you must
I must ask you to vote.
Ask you to vote for me, because there was like mustaches all through the hallways, and I'm like, what is going on? So if you'll stand.
Congratulations on your elections, and perhaps someday you'll run for school board in this community or wherever you live. And we'd like to invite all of you to come forward and ask the president to gavel us for the Pledge of Allegiance, okay?
Okay, Kylie.
Come on. Come on forward. Come on up. It won't bite. Now gavel real hard, and then everyone will stand at attention, and you can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, good.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Outstanding. Thank you all very much.
Could we get a quick
Did parents
picture?
get pictures, sir?
Yeah.
Please, bring them back up here.
Look at them all.
Real smiles.
Thank
you. All right, thank you. Good job.
All right.
You're good. You don't have to stay for the whole day.
got your own work to do.
Yeah.
Be free.
That's great. Madam Superintendent.
Okay. I only have a couple of comments. First of all, to this large looming audience right here, that it is American Education Week, and we will be sending out, there are various schools having various celebrations throughout the week, honoring their teachers in a variety of different ways, and we'll be sending out a notice to all of the staff this week, thanking them for their service and thanking them and honoring them during American Education Week, which remains a strong national institution in spite of many an assault upon it. And the second is to update the board on where we are at in the redistricting process. I know there's a lot of public interest. We have had a series of meetings. We have completed the redistricting process for the high schools, for the middle schools, and we have made suggested revisions to both the transfer policy and the transfer standard operating procedures. This Wednesday, the 16th, is our final meeting at which we hope to finalize the elementary. That's the last piece of the puzzle. We started with the 800-pound gorillas in the room, sort of moved our way down. And we anticipate that at the November 28th board meeting, we will be presenting all of the data and our recommendations to the board. And then we'll have public review process and feedback from there. So
on the 28th, it would be presented to us and then for discussion and review, and then at that time, would we be voting to put on anything?
absolutely not, no, sir. Simply for feedback, notification and feedback, and then posted just as we did with the original presentation. We would have both the presentation online, the series of maps online for people to be able to study individually, and a survey for them to be able to give feedback about the overall redistricting process, about transfer policy, and then we would take all of that feedback and information at the next board meeting, come back to you with suggested revisions and changes, and then I anticipate likely, perhaps either at the behest of the board, going back out for additional public review and comments, so that there's plenty of time for people to absorb information and give us feedback and make sure that we have the best process. I would anticipate that likely at your January 9th meeting, you would be voting, which would give us a good 3 months plus to then make any corresponding resource, predominantly staffing, but also funding and other changes as we go through. That coincides with our budget process of going through. So we have meetings scheduled with building principals beginning in December for us to go through any projected staffing changes and start looking at them about what those things would start looking like in their schools. So.
Any questions related to that?
It's been a very, very smooth process, good public, good participation from the public members, from schools, from service personnel, from representatives, from principals, teachers. It's been great. So I anticipate as smooth as possible under the circumstances process.
Good, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
So we'll look forward to the 28th.
Yes, sir.
I have a question, I'm sure that the board does as well, just related to upcoming calendar. Legislative breakfast meeting that is scheduled for
December.
with our incoming delegation.
Yes, sir. I believe that's scheduled for December the 8th, sir, the morning of December the 8th. We still have to get confirmation from, with the election having been so
Right.
recent, we've been working on putting that together. I don't know that we've gotten responses from.
Have we sent out invitations to
My
the,
understanding is that Ms. Spinell and her office are working on that,
Okay.
identifying contacts for all of the
Sure.
newly elected individuals.
Right.
So, yes. But as of now, it is tentatively scheduled for December the 8th. The legislative agenda that the board approved in the series of edits that has gone to the printers, and we'll have that both ready for the legislators, and we'll post it on our website for the public to see what our legislative agenda is, what we are going to our public officials to
do we have a
request.
tentative time for that?
It's a breakfast, so I would
Okay.
imagine 8 a.m.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Anything else under comments? If not, entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the last board meeting on October 24th. Do we have
So moved.
a second?
Second.
Any questions, clarifications? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Citizens' comments tonight?
None.
Okay. Consent agenda.
I have a couple of edits. First, I would like to denote number 18 under board approvals. I am withdrawing that item pending further updates to the board in closed session. Under the superintendent approvals, number 3, you will note that that is an approval for a preschool special needs teacher. I continue to need that. I made that approval within the authority that you gave me for fulfilling professional positions that had subs in them. That individual worked for 2 days and has submitted their resignation. So we will be coming back to you at the next session. Teaching is not the business that it once was. So I didn't want you to see that in when I come back and have someone else fulfilling that role shortly. And the final thing is you'll note on there that under the superintendent approvals, there is an interim coordinator of maintenance and facilities planning. You'll note that we accepted Mr. Will Lewis's resignation, retirement after a long history of service to Jefferson County Schools. And we have here tonight the interim coordinator of maintenance and facilities planning to be introduced to you by Mr. Dingus.
Great.
This is Keith Moran. Keith comes to us from Upshur County, where he had 6 years as the director of maintenance and construction, and he also worked with the custodians some. But he's coming to us, which helped us a great deal. He's also got 6 years of experience at the college level at Westland College. So, and doing the same job. So it's been good for them, and it's really good for us. We are very happy to have him. And we've actually done the final interviews also. It just couldn't happen this quickly, so he'll be here with us the whole time, and from now on, not just interim, but regular.
Welcome,
Welcome, Mr. Moran.
Schools,
Yes.
Mr. Moran.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome. We look forward to having you here, and it's a big task.
Yes.
Okay, any other?
No further amendments, sir.
Okay. Motion
So moved.
and a second? Okay, any questions on the consent agenda? Do you anticipate any further action tonight on item 18, or would that be deferred?
No, I do not.
Okay.
It will be deferred.
Okay, all in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much. And again, welcome, Mr. Moran. Unfinished business?
None, sir.
All right. New business.
A happy piece of new business, which we don't always get as quickly. We're having an MOU. You all have it in the packet. The MOU now on the screen. Basically, just an understanding here that Shepherdstown, the city, is putting in a bike trail and walking trail from the beginning of Shepherdstown Middle, down 480, all the way to Morgan's Grove. We have with us the principal Mrs. Horn. Mrs. Horn would come up and, or stand up at least. Mrs. Horn was at every one of our meetings, and we took every school thought in there. Another good thing is the school was asking for a gate, and since they're going to take the fence down, they're going to put us a car gate at the end so that it can be opened up, and we can bring an ambulance through there if we have to for a football game. We also will be able to exit from there if we were going to
To have an evacuation.
an evacuation. An evacuation spot
It's across the street.
is across the street.
It'll be cleared.
So,
If I may,
Please.
this is a great benefit to our school. The sidewalk's going to be on our school side of the road, go around our football field and meet all the way at the Morgan's Grove Park. Our children love to use the park, and this way they can be safe on the highway and supervised. It's going to create a much safer bus stop for our children that go to James Rumsey because it's there on a very dangerous corner. It's just a great benefit, and we're so thankful to be in that place to accept it.
Yeah, let's see, can we get a motion and then ask them if there are any questions? Thank you. Questions?
I would note to the board that this has been reviewed by legal counsel, and we've clarified all questions of future maintenance of the property, the trail, the gate, the fence, so that there are not any ambiguities moving forward.
You mentioned that a sidewalk, is it a sidewalk or is it a trail?
It is
What-
a sidewalk.
It's a sidewalk,
Concrete
okay.
sidewalk.
So there's not a bike path. That's too bad.
You can ride your bike on the sidewalk.
All the kids can.
As of right now, I guess the only question I had was there at the mountain tour this week, or the studio tour. And so I was taking a peek at the property as I drove through there. Will the stadiums, I guess the seating, anything have to be moved at all? Or it looked like there was enough room, but
The
you never know
planning
with construction.
commission, due to a very steep corner
Mhm.
where the actual
Yes.
corning is, they're gonna have to do a little blasting, which will shift our field goal about 6 feet. Other than that, the seating will stay. Everything should be able
So the field goal 6 feet, so the
to, toward the
field.
building.
Toward the
So
building.
So it's just gonna twist.
So the field itself will be,
We'll
the
have to
whole
reline
field
it.
will be moved?
everything has to
Okay.
be, yeah.
If you
Okay.
win a championship next year, well, that's why then, right?
Right, right.
Because you've won it the last 2 years, I think.
That's right.
That's right. So will they then cover the cost of moving all of that as
Yes.
well?
Yes, they said
And
they would
the
have
lining
no
the
problem
field,
at all.
relining? Okay.
And what's the rough timeline for this?
April was the start.
April was the
Main
start date, yeah.
I'm very happy that we can do this as a board because I know Shepherdstown, the town of Shepherdstown has had this grant money for a good period of time, and they would really like this project completed. So it's really a good reach out for our board.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor of approving this MOU with Shepherdstown and the board, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much, and please convey our appreciation to the mayor and the town of Shepherdstown for their cooperation. Yeah, would you? Okay. Next.
Speak to you about the school calendar for next school year. That considering your agenda, there's a couple forms that are scheduled for November 22nd at Wright Denny at 6 o'clock, then at Wildwood at December the 6th at 6 o'clock. And idea we're trying to schedule these so we can get things taken care of before the holidays, with the understanding still the state won't approve our calendar until late late May probably or so. But I know the board had a great initiative that people seem to like is here, as you see in front of you, is a 5-year draft calendar. You know, we keep in mind that we can't be holding another board if you all wouldn't be here in 2020, you know, or 2020, wouldn't be able to say, oh, this is what the board approved, and it's based on the school board. But it's, you know, a nice outline for some consistency, I think, of what would folks can look at for their calendar each school year to help them plan their springs, the start of school each year. That if you would look at some commonalities there for next school year, that school would start on, for the teachers, on the, where are we here? Let me go up to a larger calendar. This is their, I'll go to the easy to read calendar. School would start there on the Thursday the 16th for staff. They would come for 3 days, and then the students would come on the following Monday on the 21st, and that's pretty consistent for every year. Is what we're hoping then is that would be that third Monday would be the first day for students coming to school. Exciting thing about this, Berkeley County is right on board with this calendar also, and it's made James Rumsey very excited that to have all their students come at the same time. The only difference with Morgan County is that they'll take a whole week for Thanksgiving off, whereas Berkeley and Jefferson County won't take that whole week, but Morgan County just needs that week because all their staff is out hunting at that time, and probably half their students are too, so that they just go with that. But that's the biggest difference there. This still provides us to have a semester break for Christmas, which both parents and teachers really got to look forward to that and like that. The spring break is coming right during the Easter time of this calendar. You can see down in April there, just because whenever Easter comes early is what we talked about last year. It would be during the week of Easter time that right. And if at least Easter would come later on in the middle of the month or so, we would do it earlier. You could see down on this calendar, you can see with the later Easters where it would be coming on down after Easter. But the way we are right now with this calendar, would be looking at right the week of Easter here in April. Easter is that purple day, and would have Easter falling the week off falling right after that. We were able to add an extra 90 minutes of staff development to this calendar, which would like to add more staff development. The recommendations do that with speaking with mostly the parents' inputs, that other than having all these 2-hour delays, why don't we take a faculty senate day and the continuing ed day and just make it a half day for the students, so it's not 2 hours this day, then they have a faculty senate 2 hours. So you can see on this calendar, I think it's on let's see, October the 20th. We'd see that Friday would be a no school at all that day, and then over in March, on March the 2nd, would be a half day for students. And that gave us to gain another, say, 90 minutes of staff development for teachers by doing that, just by combining the faculty senate and the staff development on those days. Graduation is down here on May the 26th, I believe. But yeah, like I say, it's hard to see on some of these, especially when I start. There we go. And that's the Saturday of Memorial Day, which is always somewhat problematic, but then we have the state guidelines if we happen to have graduation no more than 5 days before the last day of school. Right now, the last day of school for students, if I do it in snow, would be May the 30th, and the teacher's last day would be June the 1st. Now, like I say, this is certainly a draft for board input, and we'll have these 2 public sessions that, would come back and see what the public has to say, and certainly entertain what where our school board's thoughts are about the calendar. But so it is exciting that it's consistent with Berkeley County, and it seems to stay pretty true to what we wanted to see in a 5-year calendar. That if I'm missing any comments, Dr. Gibson or board, if you have anything you'd like to ask or comment about, or
Thank you. Before we open it for questions, comments, just clarification. This is being presented right now as an informational item, not asking for any approval from the board at this point. You're notifying us what the recommendations are. We'll have these public hearings in November and December. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, then I'll come back with some questions in a moment, but open it to the board.
So, obviously, because of the way it is, I know this year will be the first year that we don't have graduation on Memorial Day weekend. But traditionally.
This current year.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, but traditionally, we have always graduated Memorial Day weekend.
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Okay.
And a large portion of that because of the state's restriction that it must be within 5 days of the last planned day of instruction for the school year.
Okay.
Is that one of those state requirements that it would be helpful to have some flexibility on?
One of the items on our legislative agenda is not specifically graduation, but flexibility
calendar in
within the
general.
calendar, both to support additional staff development at no additional cost to us. You can see the calendar committee worked very hard. Our number one concern is that we aren't supporting our teachers and our service personnel in meeting the high expectations that we have if we can't give them the time and the content to be able to improve their practice. We're asking a lot of them without a lot of staff development time. That's our number one priority. But certainly having flexibility around graduation would open that conversation up as well.
I think generally the state's pretty lenient. We have a lot of snow days. They don't say you need to move your graduation day back. They've let us maintain our
They've let us
graduation
keep
date.
Bless you.
Bless you. Other observations, excuse me, at this time? Or questions?
Yeah, I think for me too, I'm glad that we have a similar calendar. I think that that's good. I mean, I appreciate the time that you spent with, Dr. Arvon and
Well,
Mr. Banks.
the Berkeley and Morgan County staff did a marvelous job of us sitting down and working through, and Ms. Whittington did a great job of putting out drafts and us all sitting down and agreeing to a set of rules where, if we're always going to start the third Monday in August, we're always going to have our spring breaks tied to Easter before or after. Having those rules and everyone talking through what their individual sort of cultural issues were around different things helped us do that. I do have to say, Donna Van Meter, who is the principal at James Rumsey, I do not think that ecstatic is too strong a word for how happy she was that we managed to get this sort of collaboratively, and we sent it over to her, and she was there was squealing, squeals of happiness, simply because it uncomplicates their lives tremendously and their kids' lives the more that we can be sort of in step with our other peers in the region, and hopefully that will help us with some more. We had some discussion while we were working through the calendar about some collaborative staff development. We have a lot of the same issues, and as we get squeezed tighter and tighter revenue-wise, the more that we can collaborate on staff developments and certain things, data meetings and things like that, could be some cost savings. So, I was very happy.
So, what are we doing then in advance of both of these public hearings to both, inform the public of the recommendations and inform them of these hearings?
Well, we have the required notices in the paper, and then after tonight's board meeting, we will have, just as we did last year, up on our website, and then an email out to all of our staff with a link that says, here's the proposed calendar, take a look at it, and here's a survey, give us any public feedback about how you feel about the calendar, requested changes that you'd like for us to make.
So you're doing a survey of staff?
It'll be open to anyone, and then people denote whether it's a staff or it's a parent. We don't have, I can email all of our staff, school messenger-wise, it has to be a phone call to parents, not as many of our parents give us their email address.
Could we do a message through live grades? I know
Can.
it's not some parents, but at least it would get.
Sure,
Okay.
I didn't have that on my list, but that's a great idea. Yes, ma'am.
How many days does that give us first semester and then second semester?
84 first semester.
And 96 then, I presume?
Sure.
Okay. Other questions or comments?
And that has consistently been the number one request of both parents and staff, is that regardless of other calendar wishes, desires on those, finish first semester before the holiday break. Absolute number one, finish first semester.
I think it's a good idea to put this out as a 5-year calendar, a 5-year plan at least. We have like 30% of our people, our employees here that live in Berkeley County. And with the 2 different school calendars, that presents some problems. So this would help with that. It's, well, with the state so-called wanting us to combine services and that sort of thing, this will work in that. It's not going to be a big deal. It's not going to save a lot of money maybe, but it may save some. And it'll work in that direction. So I think it's got a lot going for it. Now, I hope we can go ahead and if we do make any changes in what has been agreed between the 3 counties now, I hope it will be something that all 3 counties can adjust to, so that we still have the 5-year template.
I would hope there would be a very strong commitment on our part if our board or a future board desires to make a change to that we would communicate it far, far in advance. We spent a lot of time and effort having a lot of good instructional conversations to reach this point, and there is a strong commitment on every part. As I said, the absolute only difference that we have is Morgan's unique situation around staffing for that Thanksgiving week. Other than that, we got absolutely agreement on everything, and I think as a regional calendar, that shows an enormous amount of cooperation and goodwill and support for our employees and the difficulties that we share. So I do think it's a huge positive, and I don't think that any one party will break from that without a lot of advanced conversation about what's happening locally that's forcing that. So.
I think it's a good first step.
It feels better than last year, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Blanc.
Oh, and we did, one of the things on there is additionally, you'll note that we labeled the snow makeup days in order of usage on there.
Oh, yeah, thanks for
So that folks know in advance what days we will be taking in what order, because that was one of the pieces of feedback from the board as well.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Item C, under new business.
Just ignore me.
I think that's one of those things we don't have a choice.
I'm gonna close that thing, you know. Okay. Would you like me to take C and D separately? Or would you like, yes? Yes, ma'am. Okay, very good. Okay.
Just for the record, because you're adding position.
Yes, ma'am. My first one is for TA Lowry. This is in our special education, special needs pre-K room. She currently is up to 7 or 8. I believe we're adding another one on top of since I have put this in. The needs have just gotten a little bit more intense. She did have one with a feeding tube that she was working on for about an hour. The one that is coming in, that came in as well, wobbly on his feet, but also had a feeding tube. I have one to move place to place with a walker or wheelchair, needs to be helped. We were originally at a one teacher, one aide. So unfortunately, for safety reasons, to make sure to see if we needed this, what we did is I put an extra in to gather the data to see if it is something that was an adjustment period or not, which we've been trying to do to make sure whether we could pull that back out before coming to you with this request. And without a doubt, there's, for safety reasons, in order to take care of the feeding tubes, the 2 of them an hour, the one wears a helmet who falls and uses a walker. An adult needs to stay near him, and 3 others that continuously they put non-food in their mouths that we have to keep track of. They range from 3 to 4 years old. If they have an IEP, we have to keep them. We have to provide services for them. So for that one, I am asking for an additional aid for that classroom. In light of that, and the discussion that we have as a team, we have discussed this prior, and they knew what was coming up, and I brought it to the team. When we went in front of you to, for the recommendation for the funding sources, these were both approved for the carryover, that we looked at that money, and I kind of made a heads up as we discussed it so that we knew those positions would need to be funded possibly. So that was brought in front of you on the second meeting in October. Okay.
And is that for both of the positions that you're recommending tonight, or just this one?
Both.
Okay.
Questions?
So these 2 are not on top of what you've already put
No.
in for carryover?
No.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? This is, we visited, I think, with the state superintendent, and are well aware of the intensity of the need, and appreciate you all staying on top of it. So, any other questions, comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Next.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to Washington High School. This is a student. At the end of last year, he is a student with autism. He is in our autism room, and he has also anxiety. And at the end of last year, we implemented trying an additional aid to help him go from class to class. Unfortunately, he would be self-injurious. So if he was not, be able to take his trips and his walks. And at one point, he stopped coming to school. So we also did at that time, worked with his psychologist, and we got some feedback from that to get him back to school. Working with that to start off the school, we started with a month of transition, and we tracked the data, which I had attached, to show how many times he would still come. He wouldn't even come in the building, so we're very excited that he is coming in the building. He is back in school. We do have him, moving forward and creating all that. I did attach the information for you. I had them track it because, I want to make sure we are doing what we're supposed to be doing, and what we are doing is effective. Okay, and putting in an aid and just saying, yay, that's great, is not our goal. We want to make sure this is an effective thing, and we also want to make sure that we are also making a plan to pull that aid back at some point. Okay, and we have discussed that with the parents. At this point, even just having a missed absence of an aid, being sick or something, has still, just been a little bit too more detrimental, where he's, it's more self-injurious and doing self-injury to himself. So we're still at that point where this position does need to come in, that we've had it long enough now for over 2 months. that we need to make this position itinerant, so that if something it is backed up, it is something we can move and use somewhere else.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Okay. Any questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Again, thank you for the keeping your eye on the ball and helping these students attend school.
Okay, thank
Great
you very
service.
much.
I, for one, would very much like to thank Ms. Fitzwater and her staff because they've spent a lot of time really focusing on making sure that they are tracking meticulously the data for performance, so that when we add these supports, we're clear about where they're being directed to, whether or not they're helping the child achieve their goals, and whether or not we're making progress towards that. So it makes it very much easier to make some what could be tough decisions sometimes about resources when we're financially strapped. When you see it very clearly in black and white,
Yep.
makes it
Thank you.
much easier. So thank you for that.
Excuse me, you anticipate a executive session?
I certainly do.
You anticipate any action?
I certainly do.
Okay. So if there's any action to be taken, the board would return to public session to take and reflect that action. Before we entertain a motion to go into executive session, any comments from the board? I do think, Mr. Cable, that we have a Economic Development Authority meeting tomorrow afternoon.
At 3.
Yes.
We have a recent meeting Thursday.
What's refresh my memory? Do you have an interim identified yet?
Well, yes, as long as the state says okay.
Says okay, yeah.
Frank Alavito has
Good.
been recommended to serve till summertime.
Yeah.
If we can corral him into that longer contract. And Frank did an admirable job when he was there before.
Other comments or updates?
Enjoyed the awards ceremony by Mr. Jenkins that he had put together over at North Jefferson, awarding the students not just for academic behavior, but recognizing the great things that they were doing, and it's a great place to start.
Yep.
And attendance.
And attendance.
Good. Okay, entertain a motion to go into executive session regarding personnel issues.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We'll take a 5-minute break.